Okay, testing. We're not actually really live yet right now. If you're watching this as a past broadcast, you can feel free to just go ahead and watch. But what you might want to do is probably skip forward a little bit because I'm still getting prepared. But the reason I'm starting now is because it's easier to do while we're live. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to YouTube here and make sure that we are streaming okay. Looks to be alright. I'm going to press pause on my stream so I don't need to watch myself. But in the meantime, what I am going to do is I'm going to say, hey, in the chat, as myself. Well, as D-Fluid, I guess, not really me. And I see it in the chat. Okay, we're good. And I need to get this camera sorted out. I'm going to do that. And I'm also going to simultaneously, really quickly, I'm going to grab the share link. And I'm going to send it to all y'all. So if you receive this link right now, you know that I am specifically thinking about you. Alright, so I'm going to send it to you, and I'm going to send it to you, and one more. Where is it? You. Alright, I'll use. Here we go. Okay, now I gotta get the last camera set up and we're gonna get started roasting. In the meantime, I'm just gonna let the roaster heat up. So let's get everything turned on. You can see this, right? Yeah, we good. Alright, so roaster. I actually have batteries charging over here. Let's probably unplug those first because I don't want any weird things happening. Alright, turn this guy on. Something else that we can do, I haven't roasted in a little while, we need to calibrate our ohms for water activity and whatnot. I haven't done that in a really long time. Watch this, ready? What? Turns out there was a camera there all along. Okay, I'm going to unplug this. This is going into my computer. And this camera. Okay, so I need to figure out how to do this properly because put this in, what usually ends up happening, I try to put it in so that it does not open the camera app, which it always ends up doing. Okay, I think we're good there. But watch, if I pause it, it's going to zoom out as soon as I unpause it. Ready? Pause. Unpause. Whoop, it switched lenses. I don't know how to actually pick the lens, and so we're just letting it do its thing like that. But no lag? Alright, we got no lag this stream. Hopefully I've got the bit rate set up right, so I think that we're going to be much better off. The plan for today's stream, I have a lot of coffee that I need to roast. Pretty soon, what's going to happen here, I'm going to be going to China. And I'm going to be doing live streams from China. And at the same time, I have communication with a bunch of really masterful roasters who are A, going to be teaching me, and B, I'm also going to have a live stream set up in a Chinese village. And it's going to be super cool. So stay tuned for those live streams. But yeah, so in the meantime, what I was going to say is I have a bunch of coffee that I need to roast through before I leave for China because it's probably not going to last that long. And so we're going to keep showing off the super cool roast. And when I'm in China, unfortunately, I will not have the roast, or ROEST, or however it's pronounced. I will not have it. So I'm going to have to use a different roasting machine. So it'll be my first time, A, using a gas machine, much bigger, and it'll be my first opportunity to compare the, precision, really high quality ability to control everything that you get with the roast and move to a more manual experience. I don't really know anything about the machine that I'm going to be roasting on in China. I'm getting it from bFluid. They're just going to get it all set up for me. So that should be fun and interesting. So, I need to get the... obviously you don't need to look at bold text settings. We need to get this camera set up. So let's start by swapping over to the camera here. And this is how we're going to do this. So that's zoomed in. We got to make sure that you can see it properly. So what we're going to do here is transform. And another reason I started the stream a little bit early, I kind of like when I'm watching live streams to be able to see a little bit of behind the scenes. So that's what we're doing. Is there a way to zoom? That's size. I don't want to adjust the size. I want to zoom in. No, that doesn't work. So I might just have to keep cropping inward like this. Oh, that's so slow. Okay, let's do 100. Okay, maybe 200. That's a little bit too much. Okay, so we'll undo a little bit of that. It's so slow. I don't know why OBS does this. This is me holding it down. That's how fast it goes. So either you have to manually type it in, or do that. Okay, so then from the top, let's change this to 420. Maybe 470. And then we'll make this a little bigger. And then maybe continue to transforming. We'll make the top a little bit more, oh wait, this one. Top a little bit more cropped in. Because I want you to be able to see the screen as well as possible. Because, well, now it's bigger than the other ones. I want that. So we're going to have to keep transforming the... Is it heating? Now we're heating. Sorry about that. That was a waste of, well, not really a waste of anything. Okay, so we're cropping in a little bit more on the left, right up to the edge of the device. Now we're going to crop in a little bit more on the right, cropping in right to the edge of the device. And then we'll make it a little bigger. Good. Okay. Now, so the other thing that I'm going to be doing today, if you're watching this before Christmas, or if you happen to be live and I don't know that you're here, what we're going to be doing, or what we're doing now is I don't need this right now. We're doing a contest, and you have an opportunity to win an Omni. An Omni. An Omni. And you can do that by using this guy, or if you have an Omni and you want another one, or if you don't have anything, you can go to the dFluid website and go to the product page for this particle analysis coaster, and you can print one. You don't need to buy anything to participate in the contest. We just really want you to participate in the contest because what we're looking for is to learn something. And something that I've wanted to know for a really long time, and I've been trying to find the answer to, I suspect I know an estimate of kind of what the answer is, but I don't know exactly. If you grind at the same grind setting with different roast levels of coffee, will you get a similar particle distribution or absolutely totally different? My guess is absolutely totally different, but who knows? So the goal here is to test that and show you guys the results. And I'm purposely not going to use Omni for this. It's way easier to use Omni for this, but I'm not going to just because the idea of the contest is to show you like you can really get started with CoffeeOS and learn something and teach everyone something and be part of this community without buying anything. So that's why we're using that guy. We will still use Omni for testing color later on, but we're also using OmniFlux, and right now we are testing new firmware on OmniFlux. So we got a lot of stuff going on today. And like I mentioned, I also need to calibrate on omics here. So we've got our container inside. I'm going to turn that on. Okay, so I needed this, our little vial of perfectly, purely saturated salt solution. So you fill salt up to here, and the rest up with water. I just got salt on my computer. Should not have done that because I got very saturated salt water on the outside of the bottle, and it crystallized, and it fell off. So this is what we use to calibrate Omics, and so I'm going to do that because I actually don't think that I've calibrated Omics since I got it. Because I've had multiple iterations of Omics just to show you for fun. This is actually the first Omics. It's not manufactured. This one was 3D printed and then hand put together and everything. And so I used this one for a really long time. This one's been calibrated many times, but it had a lot of flaws because this was like a prototype model. This guy works super well, but because of my lack of expertise, I haven't really needed super precise results in what I've been doing, but I figure we're kind of at a stage where I should probably calibrate just to make sure that we're even in the right ballpark. So, the way to calibrate, I can flip this actually around because you guys can see from my point of view, which is ideal. So, in order to calibrate, we're going to go to, I wish you could zoom in on this. You know what? I'm going to zoom in on it. I'm going to crop the sides a little bit more. Or maybe I should just get closer. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get closer. So I'm going to move this down like this, so that the space that's on screen is a little bit less, but you guys can see better. Straighten it out. I don't need you to see how yeah, like that. There we go. There we go. Better. Okay. So, so you don't need to see this. You do need to see this. Okay. So here's how we do this calibration. So I first put in the, this is the Agtron value or color value and moisture content container. So 26.4 Agtron. So we pop it in here. Now, one thing to note, I've brought this to many expos, and people don't treat it very well at expos. They don't know what it's for, what it does. It gets left out. It's not ideal. So you can see my version is a little scratched, and this is very not ideal. When you own one, you keep this covered and in great condition. You use it, put it back in the box, and that's what it should be like. Mine has been ruined by time and people throwing it around and putting it in the suitcase and all kinds of things. Like, I can't reasonably carry every device with me in all the boxes, so I've been taking it out and stacking these things, and don't do that. So the accuracy of my calibration is probably still fine, but don't do that with your version. So we go to calibrate, select the calibration I want. I want to calibrate Agtron here, which actually is calibrating the moisture content at the same time. 26.4, we're good. That's all I have to do. Exit, we're calibrating. Okay, next one. This is container B. Container B is for the measurement of whole bean roast color, and I'm also, it is also used to calibrate the moisture, the water activity with this saline solution. So what you do here, you dump this guy in, a little cover, I'm going to take that out, okay? I'm going to dump the whole thing in here. It just needs to be enough to fully cover. There we go. And we're going to go to calibration. And then another thing to note, you can reuse the solution as many times as you want, real easy. But one thing, one second. If you don't have one of these amazing, incredible, high-quality chemistry funnels for refilling it, it becomes really hard to get it from that big round container into this little tiny vial here. So having one of these that I found at an estate sale is super valuable. You can use any funnel. You can remake the solution, it's just salt water. But it takes a little while to make sure that all of the water is dissolved. So we're going to calibrate that water activity. But yeah, so it's nice to reuse the calibration solution. So now I'm going to turn on Airwave. On we go. I'm going to connect OmniFlux. I'm going to switch this to dark mode. Cool. And we have an entirely new calibration process built into this version of OmniFlux, and that's what I'm actually testing today. So let's make sure that our lights are lined up. And I am first going to device settings, connections, Airwave connect, connected to Airwave, cool. Since we're going to be calibrating, I'm going to wait to turn it on auto. And, oh sorry, I'm standing in front of that. Oh, I moved it. Okay, let me, oh no, it's the wrong way. There, that should be good. I need it to be moved. There. Perfect. Okay, that's set up and ready to go. I'm gonna lock focus on there so that we don't screw that up by mistake. Is that yellow not gonna go away? Well, that's annoying. Okay, how do we get this better? Let me focus down here at the same distance. And you won't have to look at the little yellow box. Okay. Cool. Alright, we are successfully calibrated here. Exit. So I don't need the solution anymore, and what I'm going to do is flip over my beast of a funnel. Literally, look at this. It's like it was designed for this. Perfect. Okay, and we open this guy up. I don't know why I said open. Dump that in. And we're good. That can just be rinsed out. And we're all good. Just like that. Calibrated and ready to go. Okay. I'm going to put my solution back over here. And let's go back in here. And we will do a a test of our green coffee in a second. But first, what do I need to do first? Probably rinse this. I'll be right back, guys. 1 sec. Okay, at the same time, I'm bringing back my Kingdom M68, my favorite grinder in the whole world. And this is now clean, but it's not dry, so I'm going to put it upside down on this rag back here. I got myself my favorite brush. And I think we are ready to go here. Okay, let's test our first McBatch of the coffee that's been sitting here. Hopefully it does not dry out. I need to roast most of this. Okay, just so you know, here's how much coffee I need to roast before January 1st. And I have to do it in this size batches so that I have some experiments that I can run. So, that's going to take a little while. Alright, drop our sample down. I'm going to flip this over and put it over here. put this on screen so you can see a little better. I'll move this. I don't need I actually don't need my heater yet. I'll put it up here. Okay, so we grab our bean sweeper. If you have an Omix and you don't have one of these, I highly recommend it, just because Omix does come with a metal scraper that's really nice to just kind of like scrape the beans off. It's not hard to do that way. But it is really nice to have a repeatable and easy way to prepare your sample, and an effortless way that results in repeatable results. You do that until beans stop falling out. Extra bean there. And now you've got a perfectly prepared sample. Pop them in, top on, and go. Now I can dump the leftover beans back in the bag. Okay. Shazam. Okay, 8.8% moisture. Not ideal. We're still drying out this coffee. I need to get rid of it fast. Let's test our water activity. And now we can get started on calibrating OmniFlux. So, the calibration procedure has been greatly simplified. So what we need to do here, you know what? This is at a funny angle. I'm going to readjust this one more time and hopefully make it better so that it's not at a funny angle. How's that? Can you see better? Turn it slightly. There. And let me redo my focus. There we go. Okay, so our calibration process. We're going to go to calibrate. We're going to go to roaster vision. I'm going to, this is actually an old one, and I want to not edit the profile. I'm actually just going to delete it. And we're going to go add new roaster, and I'm going to call it ROEST. Done. Whoa, there's a bug. Okay, I deleted it, but it won't let me use the name again. Rename. Okay, I need to let them know about that. I don't have a phone to be able to write it down. Give me 1 second. Hey, Sophie? Can you write down? Actually, I have Man, pen and paper. I'm going back in history here. Okay, roast time of this stream so I can find out exactly what time it was at. We are at 23 minutes. Been streaming for 23 minutes already? I haven't even started? Okay, next. Let's see. Our water activity is still at 0.549, so that's not too bad. But we do need to use up this coffee. So, dump them in. Okay, come back over here. I do know that already that the color of this green coffee is 128 just because I've done it before and it saved my response from last time. I could enter in here and re-enter the color of the green coffee, but I don't need to. So, calibrate. Okay, position OmniFlux, already done. Next. Okay, charge the green beans, then press charged beans, because then it will know that the beans have been charged and it's ready to mark the green color. Okay, so are we ready? We are at temperature. Drum speed is good. Yep, we're all good. Okay. Oh, we are not aimed properly though. I should probably do that. Now I'm going to have to readjust. That was stupid. You know what? Let me cancel it. I didn't do that properly. I ignored the step that I was supposed to do, and I didn't aim it properly. I am not paying attention. Okay, let me fix now. Okay. We are aligned. Good. Calibrate. Okay, roaster vision. Add new roaster. We're gonna call it, let's just call it number 1 just for simplicity. Next. Calibrate. Okay, we're positioned correctly. Now we are good. And I can see it on the screen. We are also good. Wait, is that backwards? No, you're good. Okay, sorry. All good. Okay, and next. Okay, now it says nothing. That's a little weird. Okay, another bug. Okay. 26 minutes. Nothing appears. Okay. That's really weird. Let me go back again. That's obviously a bug. Exit. Try it one more time. Calibrate, roaster vision, add new roaster, random numbers, next, calibrate, next. Well, that's super weird. Let's just see what happens. I don't know why it's not telling me to, it's not giving me instructions, but I already know what to do, so let's see if it works. Go. Charge beams. Okay, adjust distance. It says my distance is not correct. But it is correct. Another bug. We are at 2740. And it's not giving me the correct instructions here. Okay, so this new firmware has a lot of bugs. We're going to have to fix that. Yeah, it's not working right at all. Okay, hopefully it still works, even though the actual thing displaying here is not correct. But luckily I discovered it, so we can get that fixed before launch. Okay, while that's going, let us change our view here. You guys are not looking at the live roast curves. Now you are. Connect to the server. We good. I would like to do a lighter roast, but for the calibration roast, I'm going to go a little bit darker because it gives a better frame of reference, because then later it knows what the color change will look like as it gets darker. If I use too light of a roast to do the calibration, then I roast darker after that. It's going to not be well calibrated for those darker roasts. So I'm going to do a darker roast to start with. In the meantime, let's start our experiment. Let me go grab another phone. Alright, so we've got, what the heck? Oh. The phone crashed for a second. Okay, so, we've got particle analyzer. Let's open up a new sample. We're going to call this, let's call it, these are all the same roast colors, so let's do, we're going to start with a really, really, really dark, a 35 Agtron. Actually, what I should probably do is measure the inside and outside color first, so that we can really get an idea of where our color is at. And this does not have the newest firmware, so I'm going to use Omni for the color. Move Omnix out of the way. Okay, so we're going to bring Omni back over here. And I'm going to turn Airwave's filtration on. And we're going to turn Omni on. Omni on. Okay, and let's do this. Okay, so first things first, we're going to take out some of this Dennis Affogato Hotter. This coffee, I still plan on doing a live stream to show off. We did a previous live stream where we roasted this, and then I was trying to make the best Affogato roast. Oh, that smells good. But I'm waiting for the new CoffeeOS tool to come out before I do that stream. So in the meantime, I'm just going to run some tests on this coffee. So, let's prepare our sample nicely, get it nice and flat. So this is 35.6, so dark. Now let's grind some. Enough to fill that little, I don't need this much, it's going to be waste. This is about at a setting that I would use for espresso, so the rest I'm going to pour back in because there's no sense wasting it for no reason. I don't like wasting coffee. Okay, flip that guy over, close this guy up, and good. Can't vacuum seal it, not a problem. Let's grind it. Here we go. I'm not going to test this grind in terms of particle size because I have a technique that I want to do where I want to measure everything that comes out, and I'm not going to be able to do that with this much coffee without taking a super long time. And I'm going to lose some around here. So what I'm going to do is just measure this for color, and then I'm going to grind like 2 beans at a time to get the particle size. Okay. Test. I need a pen. Where's my toddy pen that I got from? I don't know where it went. Alright, I'll just use this pen. It's also good. Okay, medium dark 41.7. So let's just say this is a 42. So I'm going to call it a 35 over 42. Pretty even. That's like a 7 agtron difference between the inside and the outside. Okay, so now we need to get this super clean so that it has no particle residue in it whatsoever. So I'm going to do a thorough job of that. I'm starting to hear some cracks from the roasted coffee. That's pretty clean. Make sure nothing sticks to the briggity brush. Where are we at? 7 minutes, 43 seconds, 208 degrees. Still calibrating. Okay, now I'm going to make sure that there's nothing left in our grinder. This grinder is great for this kind of experiment because there's pretty much no retention. So I can make sure that we're not getting anything left over in here, and I can get a pretty good idea of the full distribution that comes out thanks to CoffeeOS. Okay. Okay. Whereas particle free is I think we can get. Put that back on. Where are we at over here? I think around the time that second crack starts, I'm gonna drop the beans. So we'll let that keep going for now, and I'm going to take, I'm gonna clear this out because I'm gonna have to measure more color when this comes out. Okay, and I'm gonna clear this out. This does not have to be as clean. You know what's interesting? When I first started like getting into coffee, I didn't really like pay that much attention to the difference between like actual color between like, a lighter roast and a darker roast. But when you see it like this, such a difference. Okay, I'm hearing lots of second cracks. I don't want the smoke alarm to go off when I drop the coffee, because smoke comes out of this part. So let's drop. Here we go. Ready? We're going to go drop, roast complete. It's still cracking here. Alright, so our calibration process is totally screwed up. It's behind, because now it's telling me drop the beans when the roast is complete, then press roast complete. But I already pressed roast complete. Oh, it figured it out. Okay, I have no idea if this calibration is actually going to work because it totally is not correct here. So our final color, we need to fill that in. What the heck? It didn't even let me... Yeah, a huge bug here. Well, this firmware is totally screwed up. Doesn't work at all. I probably updated when they... See, I'm using a beta test version of a software that is not ready yet. And so, yeah, that didn't work at all. I'm going to reboot here. Turn this off for now. I'm going to reboot and see if that helps, but I think I just need to wait for the new firmware. Let's see. Let me try that one more time. We'll go to Calibrate, Roaster Vision, Add New Roaster. Yeah, it didn't even save it. Yeah, oh, because I didn't press save. And call it a random name next. Push calibrate. Let me at least get ready just in case it does work and I need to roast another batch. So let me grab some more coffee. There's my Omnix cup. Fill this with greens. If this calibration doesn't work, we're going to have to go back to temperature calibration. I mean, sorry, temperature roasting for a day. I'm not going to wait for it to heat back up because I don't really care. I just want to see if this works. Okay, and next. Okay, it seems like it's doing a better job this time. Alright, let's see. Wait for it to stabilize. fast. Whatever, good enough. Here we go. Charge beans. Charge beans. Seems to be doing a better job this time, but I don't know why it's taking so long to build the green bean model. Oh, okay. Drop beans when the roast is complete, then press roast complete. Alright, so let's try this again. In the meantime, that looks pretty good. Pretty even. This one does not look even on camera, but weird. When I look at it on camera, it looks so much less even than it does in real life. But whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna put this extra coffee back. Close up my bag. We're back to my experiment. Let's turn this guy back on. And, okay, so here's how we're going to do this. I'm not using Omni, like I said. You're going to take 2 beans from this 3542. I'm gonna call this the sample 3542 washed. Okay, and then we're going to grind the 2 beans at what setting should we use? It'll be the most fun. I'm going to use like a middle grind setting. So let's do 1 full rotation, 8 numbers, and 0 clicks. So right exactly on 8 numbers. Let me move this on camera so you can see a little better. So it's kind of like a middle of the road, like pour over grind setting. And I'm going to do that for all of them. You know what? This grinder is more towards espresso. So maybe I should use like a slightly coarser. Let's do 6. So 1 full rotation and then 6 numbers. So it's still going to be rather fine, like more like a medium fine. In fact, actually what we can do here, if I go close this, and we go to our grinder converter, and I bring up our grinder manager, and I go to my grinder that I set up. If we go to 1 full rotation and, what did I say, 6 numbers on the dot. It's like a 644 micron size. And it suits a medium roast AeroPress. So when you fill in your grinder with like the actual real data that comes out of it, you get really good results with the grinder. Okay, so it's about 644 microns is our grinding setting right now. So let me go back to that. Oh, did it not save? That's probably not actually. I opened a new sample, but I didn't save anything, so I didn't make any tests, so it didn't save. I should probably not have it do that. Okay. So let's create another new one. And 3542. Okay, and then what we're going to do is grind at this setting with those 2 beans. And then we're going to get everything up here. And then I'm going to make sure you get some vibration in there so that we don't lose anything. I want everything that can possibly come out to come out. So that I don't have to worry about purging or anything between. Okay. Do a little shaking this way. Let's see what we got. Perfect. Okay, did anything get stuck around the edges here? A little bit. Make sure you get it in there. Okay. What are we at on this roast? 5 minutes, so we got another couple minutes. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of the way for now. We're going to keep that same grind setting throughout. I'm going to make sure this pad is nice and clean. Alright. Okay. And here we go. I'm going to put a little bit of coffee on here. I'm going to try to make sure to lose none of it, so I'm going to be very gentle here. And I want to make sure that I test everything I can, so I don't want to lose any coffee. And be super gentle because it like jets outward. Whoop. There's the particles, I can't do that. The trick is to make sure that they are all separated. If they're clumped together in any way, you're going to lose accuracy because it's going to read those as large particles. Flick the rest of these downward. That. Oh, that's silver skin. Okay, that should be good. Maybe a little more over here. Too much wind. Okay. Now, we are going to go over here. We're going to line it up absolutely precisely, and so that we get consistent results here. And okay, that's pretty good. It's pretty narrow. It still says bimodal, probably because of this little peak here, because it goes like instead of just perfectly. Gives it a little bit in this range, but it's pretty natural to be expected. Remember, this is our D50 just from this one sample. But obviously there's some fines and some other stuff that has not yet been tested here. So we need to get the whole sample so that I can really understand what it is that we've got here. So that's just one test. And I'm going to sweep that off into here. Alright, next one. So now that I've done a test, this will save automatically every time I take a test. So I don't need to worry about that. Alright. Next bit of coffee. That's much finer than before, so I want to get it nice and spread out. And so I'm not going to put too much on at a time. Don't have to lose any coffee off the edges. Now another thing to note is in the fixed environment that Omni provides and the specific camera lens that's chosen to be able to do the particle recognition, Omni can detect down to about 15 microns, and it's rated for about 30 microns. With the particle analyzer coaster, it's going to depend on the resolution of your phone's camera, and then also some other variables like what kind of pixel resolution and everything to determine how fine it can get, and also like your focus distance. So See how much lower it is now? 872 is the average, but that one test is 725 is the D50. So, same shape, but slightly different. So, that's because I'm testing obviously different sized particles here. So that's test number 2. We're getting close to our drop point on our roast here. Give it a check. That's quite dark. Okay, I think we're ready to drop here. So it says drop beans while when the roast fluid, then press roast. Okay, so here we go. Drop. Roast complete. Building a model. And then once that's finished, I'm going to have to fill in the final color, assuming that this is working correctly. Alright, so I'm not going to test this right now. Great, that worked. Okay, so I'm going to take this sticker off here of my empty coffee. And I'm going to put this coffee in here. Whoops. Spilled some coffee. No big deal. I think I can collect it all here, no problem. Alright. All good. Alright, I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to move these up here. Try to keep it separated from my experiments. Okay, now we can test our final color here and finish our calibration process. What? That's really annoying. Okay, so clearly broken and didn't detect it right at all, and that's really annoying. Okay, and it's broken again. Okay, so I guess we are not using OmniFlux today. It does not work with this firmware. So instead of looking at OmniFlux, you guys are going to look at the coffee roasting. Let's see, what can you see on screen? Yeah, that's fine. That's pretty cool. That's a cool view. Okay, so let me grab another batch of coffee, get that started roasting. Only this time, because I discovered how good this coffee is as a light roast. So the next batches, I'm actually just going to set a final temperature, and I'm going to let it do its thing. We're looking for 75 Agtron. It's in. Agtron was where it was really good. It was quite dense. So, but I only had a couple to test at that level. So, we're going to. Where are we here? We're going to go to. Profiles. Right now we are using Dennis Hot and Fast, which is working quite well. but we are going to do our beam temp instead of 250. We're going to set it at 206, and then end condition is beam temp. So I'm just going to have it drop automatically. Go with that. Let's go update profile. Let me do a quick sync. Let me do a quick sync. Sync. There we go, Dennis. Not fast. Okay, good. Let me put this back. Boom. And let me get back to OBS. What is my stream warning me about? Why does it say warning? The stream's current bitrate. Oh my god. Every time it's lower and lower and lower. Hopefully you guys can see it okay. I don't actually know what the stream looks like, but it looks good in OBS. And this isn't lagging like it was before, so we'll have to see later. In the meantime, let me finish my experiment. So we're going to charge. That'll go automatic. Sorry, Rose, you really need to fix that bug. That's really annoying. I'm going to write it down, and actually, this was at 5740. Man, today is a buggy roast day. None of the equipment is working the way that it's supposed to. Let me try that again. Heat back up. Heat back up. Go. You gotta not do that. I think what's happening is the beam temperature is reading higher than the... So let's do that again, but I'm going to wait for the beam temperature to drop. Beam temperature dropping, 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 now it's below. I shouldn't have to do that, but I know that roast will get that fixed. Okay, let's continue what we were doing. So let's do our next test here. Oh, hold on, let me switch to the live view of our roast. Okay. Alright, now let's finish what we're doing here. Let me put that off. Alright. Okay. The not green. I am losing a few particles, but they're all quite large ones, and I don't think will really make that much of a difference. Okay. I actually do know that this particle and this particle are particles. Okay, next one. Turn it up. Okay, our average is at 910 now. We still got a ways to go. Alright, toaster's clean. Brush is clean. More coffee. Yeah. There's a lot of grounds that come from 2 beans. I said 2 too hard. I gotta top downward so I don't blow my beans everywhere. Is that something that people usually worry about, blowing their beans? I mean my grounds, I guess. Blowing my grounds everywhere. I have to talk into my arm so that I don't screw this up. So it's interesting, this was actually much easier to do on Omni because there are edges that prevent it from shooting off the edges. So I was able to get like every single particle with no loss. Here I'm losing a few particles. It shouldn't be that big of a deal, especially if it's consistent between all of them. It does introduce a tiny bit of error. Okay, so 958 is our average now. Okay, clean off our brush. Oh right, we're doing a shorter roast. I gotta see where we're at. I'm gonna make sure this guy's on. Oh right, I forgot. It's doing it for me. I don't have to worry about that. The best part about having a roasting machine, that roasts for you. It roasts for you. Alright, don't blow my powder everywhere. This method is working a bit better. Just gonna regular brush it all around until it covers the whole pad. It's faster, and I'm not flinging powder everywhere. It's a good thing I was covering my mouth when I said flinging, because there was a lot of air that came out. Apparently I make lots of air when I say the word flinging. Okay. Next picture. $9.39. I'm actually a little bit worried about the method here. We'll have to see how it goes at the end. I might have to redo this because I think it's possible that the focus distance that I've been using, I might be a little bit too close. I might need to be a little bit further away. I was trying to make it perfectly match the edges because then I can make it consistent. But if my phone isn't focusing properly, then I'm probably going to get a little bit of off results because it's not going to see the tiny particles. So we'll have to see how this goes when I start getting to the much, much, much finer end. In fact, how much of our sample is at that fine end? (1,239 particles. So either it's not detecting them, or I have not gotten them all into the tests yet. I'm not really sure which one it is. So this is going to be one of those things where if you have a better phone, you're going to get a better result here, depending on how close it can focus and how high the resolution is to be able to see those tiny, tiny particles. I'm hearing some cracks. What's our temp at? 205. So hopefully it drops at 206. It did. Alright, what was our average there? 939 still? Oh, pretty consistent there. So we've done 6 tests so far. Okay, let me put in my next batch. Actually, I need to dump that out first. And then I'm going to need to measure this color because I wanted to see if we're going to be doing the same profile, the same temperature should result in the same color, ideally. So I'm going to measure this color and then see if I want to go lighter or if that's right spot on. But either way, I still need to clear out some room, so peel off the label, open it up, use our fancy foam, and let's try not to spill this time. Still spilled, not as much. I can grab those beans pretty easily. These ones I can measure the color of later, not as important, because I dropped these ones at a random point, so I'm not really going to learn much from these. I'm just going to enjoy drinking them. Yep, I drink beans. And then, okay, so we need to measure the color of this one before we get started on the next one. So something I actually learned very recently, I think maybe was it yesterday? Today. Something I learned today. Actually, you know what? I learned it recently, but not today. But it kind of really hit me today as like a real thing. And that is, your coffee continues to change color after it drops. Because it's still hot. And even if you cool it down quickly, there's still a period of time where the color is changing, even if it's half an electron value. So that's an interesting thing to note. Test. 71. Okay. 71.2. That's just the outside, but I was only referring to the outside, so that's okay. So I want to drop that down. 71.2. I want closer 75 through 80. So I'm going to change the 206 to a 203. 3 degrees cooler should do the trick for me. So let's pop this in here. That's all I needed. 203 is our new number. Zim zam. All good there. Nice. Good. Okay, let me change our profile to 203 and then we will continue with another roast. Yes, okay. Profiles, Dennis, hot and fast. And we're going to change this to 203. And let's go update profile. Let's sync. Let's sync. Hot and fast. And move this out of the way. Okay. And then when we put the beans in, now I know I gotta hold it until the bean temperature lowers below the dropped bean temperature. Okay. And go. 245, 244, 239, 230, 229, and there we go. There we go. And let's continue where we were. Whoa. Let's go back to live view. 5. Yes. Yeah, okay. We have a basket. We do. Okay. Let's continue. We still have actually quite a bit of coffee in here. It's amazing how much coffee 2 beans worth is. Alright, spread it around. Okay. Not lose anything that's attached to the brush. $8.11 on that one, bringing our average down to $9.20. Next one. Keep having this breathing problem. Gotta stop breathing. Nice and spread out. Okay. $9.22 is our total now. That was $9.37. Jeez. 2 beans worth of coffee. Literally 2 beans. $8.97 is that one. Okay. Next one. I think I'm through like 1 bean. A lot fewer in this test. 901, that's a 732 average. What I meant by that was that test was 732 average, but the entire average is 901. Okay. That test is 882 for a total average of 899. And lots of tiny, 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 tiny particles. Let's see if this average is lower. $894 on that one. Next one. I think maybe 2 or 3 more. $796 for that one. Hearing some cracks. That should be dropping real soon, right? 201.8 crack. Yeah, it'll drop any second. There it is. Good job, Roast. After this test, I'll take a check of our coffee. $867 on that one. Okay, now I'm going to measure the color of that batch that just came out. It's crazy how much of a difference it makes in terms of like if it expands a lot or not. When you roast darker, it tends to expand a ton. This coffee, when you don't roast it super dark, the chaff barely comes off. I've started noticing that. Alright, let's give this one a measure. The color may actually change a little bit on this one. I pulled it out a little too soon. It should still be cooling actually. I turned the light off I can't remember why I should turn it back on. In fact, I thought I did turn it back on. Let me check. Machine. Bean cooler light, it's on. What? It's on, but it doesn't seem to be going on. We'll test it again next time and see if it works. Okay. What did we get? 75! Right on the dot, just what I wanted. That's pretty awesome. This machine's incredible. Okay, 75. I also wanted to try an 80. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to still lower it by another 3 degrees and drop one at 200. But I think 75 is going to be what I actually want. Oh no. I am out of containers. I need to go to the garage and get more, and I don't want to do that on stream, so I need to start giving away some coffee. What I'm going to do is just move on to this one, and we'll figure it out after the next roast. Alright? Shove this guy back in there. This goes in here. This goes in here. Alright, I'm gonna change this to 200. Profiles. Calibrate hot and fast. I don't know why I said the word calibrate. Done. No, I don't want to edit the video. Update profile. Ooh! Look what we just found. Let me see, which camera can we see this on? Nice. Okay. We've changed it, we just need to sync it here. Okay. Alright, let's do another batch, and this time we're dropping at 200. First, we're going to do a little bean sweep. The reason I'm doing this bean sweep thing every time, instead of just dumping it in a little overfilled, because the batch size on the roast can handle more. This is about 160 grams, so it would be totally fine to just overfill it and throw it in. I'm not doing that because I want every roast to be very comparable with one another, because every once in a while I go, man, this one is really good. Why does it taste so much better than the other one? And so the best way to find out why is to have a consistent dose size so that I can compare it to a previous one. So, this time we're roasting to 200. Let me change it to live so you can see the curves. Okay. Let me close up the bag. Alright. It's okay. Okay, let's finish what we were doing. And make sure we get all the last of the little brownie foods. I'm just going to do that, because if I find out that the camera is not registering the tiny particles because I'm too close to it and it's not focusing well, I'll know that I'm probably going to have to redo this. I'm discovering best practices for you guys. Right? Thank you. Yeah. Wait, no, they're that cabinet, bottom right. Ooh, okay, so it does register. Okay, so 552 is the average on that one. So we're still good. We're still good. Thank you. Okay, next one. As we reach the end, we're getting more and more and more to just the fines that stay behind. So it'll really drag down our average, which is why it's really necessary to get all of your sample here. If you're just looking for like, I could have done one test and gotten, because this result has not changed much since I started. So like, if the D50 is slightly being pulled down each time, so like if the D50 is what's important to you, I definitely would recommend doing what I'm doing here and getting the full distribution. But if what you're looking for is like the variance in particles, that doesn't seem to be changing very much, regardless of how many tests I do. The distribution looks the same. It's just shifting downward. So if you're trying to just see what kind of a distribution, it seems like we don't need to do that many tests. But for an accurate D50, we really need to. 601. So it brought our average down to 850. Okay. Really getting down to the last few particles here. I'll probably do one more test after this one. Okay. $426. Brought our average down to 825. So if you'll remember, what I said that this grind setting was, it was about 640 something microns. That was from doing a test of one bean at the first, middle, and final grind size. So there's definitely going to be some variation in here that I did not pick up because I didn't do extensive testing. But you can see that's pretty close here. I might actually have to do 2 more tests. Because we're still pulling the average down with the last of these fines. I have a feeling we're going to end in the 600 to 700 range. I also think the fact that my camera is probably not going to pick up as small of fines as Omni will. My distribution will be ever so slightly skewed in the wrong direction. So the more accurate you need, the more you're going to need to buy an Omni. 395 on that one, brought our average down to 801. Probably be dropping these beams real soon. Where are we at? 195. We're close. Alright, this should probably be the last one. I'm going to get everything I can around the edges, around the top, everything that's sticking, and I'm going to try not to breathe here. Here we go. Pretty good timing. Okay, so this is definitely the last test, and also definitely the finest of them all. No pun intended. Okay, are mostly spread out. Curious to see what it's going to actually register with this one, because there's a lot of particles that I can barely even see with my eyes. I really don't think the camera is going to be able to see. Okay, here we go. $777. That one was $345. We're down $777. Okay, I think I'm going to do that same thing again because I'm wondering if I was putting too much powder on the first time, so it was like covering up a lot of the littler ones. And now that I know where we're at on here, I'm going to test the color on that one. I'm going to put them away, and then I'm going to start doing batch after batch after batch, because I just need to roast coffee for some friends. So, let me test what the results were on that one. I'm planning on submitting the results from this experiment as my contribution to the particle analysis contest we got going on if you want to win an Omni. I'm not going to win an Omni because I'm not participating to win. I work for D-Fluid, but I'm participating because it's fun. So this can go in here. Still 0 beans that time. Pretty good. Those are pretty dense. I'm curious to see how the fresh batch dropped at 200 is going to be. So this one, I know it's 75, but I'll measure it again later when the color analyzer tool comes out. That's going to be fun. For now, yeah, see, the light didn't come on again. I'm going to have to, whoops, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to report that as a bug. Or maybe I didn't see it because I don't know if it's still cooling. Maybe it already turned off. Let me measure this real quick. Oh, I don't need this on permanently. I guess it's possible it turned off already and I didn't notice because I didn't come around fast enough. Maybe that's the case. They just don't feel that cool yet. We'll have to go back and look at the screen and see if I was wrong or not. Alright, what are we at? What? That's interesting. So, 3 degrees lighter. Sorry, 3 degrees down, but we got the same final color. That's fascinating. That makes me want to try Let me do another test. Maybe it's just that it's not super even, or maybe it's that there's lots of chaff in here. You can see it pouring out everywhere. Yeah, there's a lot of chaff here. So maybe it's just because of the specific sample I tested. Let's see. If it's still, when I do this second test, if it's still around 75, that means that color and temperature are not linked nearly as much as I thought they were, and I'm sure a lot of people thought they were. Because we know that the roast is very accurate in terms of temperature and like roast monitoring. So if this is still around 75, we've learned something. Oh, okay, no, wait, maybe it's just, yeah, because it's not perfectly even. So that one's at 79. So, yeah. But there is a lot of variance in there. Probably because there's a ton of silver skin, and I think I actually turned off the silver skin detection. I was on setting 2, so it could be a little higher. I'm going to put it on green. Let's see what we get. Okay, so that's a little bit more what I would have expected. So I'm actually going to boost this back up to 203. Let me go here, 203. Let's go back to our profiles. Go back to hot and fast. We're going to go back to 203. And this is going to be, I'm doing a bunch of light roasts for family that I don't think has really had much light roast coffee. My experiment here is I'm taking people who don't really know much about coffee and seeing, I'm giving them 3 different roast levels of the same coffee to see which one they like the best, and I'm not telling them that that's what it is. I'm telling all of them that it's just 3 different coffees. And since they're not watching this live stream, they won't know that I'm running this experiment, and so it'll be interesting to see what they like. I'll definitely share my results when the time comes. Okay, let me throw the next batch in. This one is the one I want to put this separate. I'm going to put it on top of airwave because I want to try it tomorrow and throughout the time that it rests and see how I like the super light rest. Whoops, sorry about that. Okay, let me dust this off. Oh, wait, no, we need to do coffee first. Coffee. Do a quick bean sweep. Wait till it's below 200 so we don't get a false drop. Okay, leftover beans, back in the bag. Alright, let's try to run this experiment one more time, but much faster this time. So I'm curious to see if I get the same results again. So this is I'm going to rename this to 3542-1. I know it's the first time. This time I'm going to change 2 variables, the thing I shouldn't do. Oh wait, hold on, let me put it back to live. There we go. Okay. Let me. Okay, we're gonna open a new one. And we're gonna call this 35, 42, 2. Boom. Okay. Actually, you know what I should do? I don't need this folder. I want a new folder, and we're going to call it Particle Contest. And you're going to put it in the Particle Contest folder. Sweet. Okay, now we're in the Particle Contest folder. Okay, so actually I want to move the other one to this one. And this. Change folder. Particle contest. I need to, okay, let me write that down. I need to make sure that if I give it a name and everything, even if it's blank, it should still save it. So we are at 1 hour 42 minutes. Particle sample not saved. Okay. Yeah, I don't like that behavior. We need to make sure but it's fixed. But I can also show you this in the meantime. So now that I'm in this folder, and I want to now create a new one, I can just go up to the top, new sample, and it's going to be a new sample in that folder. So that's pretty convenient. Okay, so 35, 42, 2. Alright, we've got our new sample. And let me clear this off. Make sure it's nice and clean. Already nice and clean because I got everything out last time. Let me make sure this is nice and clean, which it should be. You can't see it, but I'm making sure the grinder's clean. And then we're going to get 2 beans from the same 3542 Dennis Avocado. We're going to make sure that they are normal beans. Normal as they come. I'm going to try to peel that chaff that's on there off. I think the chaff gets in the way for this kind of stuff. Don't do that. Very oily. Whoa! A chunk came off. I'm not going to include that. Because that won't grind very well. Okay, so this is a pretty brittle couple of beans. Okay, so we're putting them in the grinder at the same setting. And we've got our thing there. We're going to grind them. Oh crap. Gotta turn airwave on. Don't wanna. Good thing I got it on before we got to the smoke stage. It's about exactly what I needed it. Okay. I can hear it still grinding in there. I apologize that you can't see that, but I'm not gonna move the grinder just to grind 2 beans. Okay. Residue that's on the bottom of the grinder. Okay, should be all of it. Make sure that my brush is very, 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 very free of debris. And let's try this again. But this time I'm going to go a little bit further away from the camera, and I'm going to do a little bit less each time. Except for the ending ones. But I'm going to try to keep it around what I was doing at the end. So, test number 1. All around the edges. Basically just trying to get everything as absolute spread out as possible so I can get the most accurate possible results here. Flick any fines that got stuck. do our first test, bro. Okay, this time I'm gonna have, okay, how far out should we go? I'm gonna, about like that. Okay, those are the large particles. 1046 is our D50. The biggest and most easy ones to spot. The ones that come out first. Okay. Okay, test number 2. $764 average, $955 total average. Wipe it on the pants, make sure it's clean. Next one. Spread it around, get it near the edges. Done, done. Alright, let me take this picture, we'll put the next batch in. $10.88 is the D50 on that one. Bringing our average back up a little bit. Okay. Next batch. Grab our little die. I think this is the last batch that I'm going to do just for this live stream. I'll probably be back tomorrow for some more, depending on what other work I've got to do. I'm still going to bean sweep on here so you can see. Sweep. Again. And oh yeah, see the light did go on. I just wasn't looking at it. That ain't a bug. So I'll leave that until it's fully cooled. Actually, these are quite cool already. Smells good. Okay. Put these in. Alright, so that's my last batch for today. Stack that on top. Okay. Next bit of our sample. Even. Click off the fines. Okay. That was weird. Okay, so next one, 924. We're getting definitely exactly the same distribution as before. So let's see what our final result is. I think it really makes sense that if you're using the analysis coaster with a camera that's not going to be able to detect the ultra fine finds, you're going to be slightly skewed upward. So you can like safely assume that your resulting D50 when you do it this way will be slightly higher than if you use like an Omni or like something even more sophisticated like laser diffraction. But your actual understood distribution is quite good regardless. Okay. Next test. That was 837 average, bringing it to 951 total average. Next one. That one's 724 average, but the total is, what's that sound? I think a bean got stuck somewhere. Really weird sound. Stopped. Must have been a beanstalk. Alright, we've actually still got quite a bit in here. Like I said, it seems to be pretty crazy how much powder 2 beans make. Okay. $8.48, bringing the average to 904. So we are at, that one was 1010, bringing our average to 917. In case you're curious about my sieve stack setup, in CoffeeOS you can totally manually control what sieves you want to use. I've just opted to use all of the ASTM standard sizes. So the ones that have a number, so like a number 17 sieve, stuff like that. So you can see if I go over here, each one of them has a number at the bottom. So I've got the number 230 sieve all the way through the number 8. And I figured it's because ASTM has thought through which sizes that they want to build physical sieves for. And they must have done that for a good reason. So I'm going to follow their reasoning and just stick with it. But according to the ISO standard sizes, you've got a lot of sizes in between that you can also use. So depending on your purpose or use case, feel free to play around with what sieves you want to include. All up in the settings up here. Okay, so that one's 426, bringing the average to 863. Next one. And our last batch is done. Light on? Yeah, light's on. That was my mistake. No bug. Okay. Shazam. Let's take another photo. 880 on that one, bringing our average to 864. Don't need to continue heating, I need to be roasting. Getting to the end here, guys. Okay. Another photo. Why is it saying no particles detected? That's a little weird. 807, bringing the average to 859. Okay. And then, oh man. Alright, hold on, I'm going to turn the roast machine off. There's quite a lot of powder left in there. Go to shutdown. Don't need that anymore either. Use a manual switch to power off. There's quite a lot left in here. See if we can speed things up. Okay. 967. Getting close. Next one. Airwave is cooled down too. It's going to be so quiet in here once I turn off Airwave. Airwave plus roasting machine. All the way down to nothing. It's probably a little too much, but sorry. Curious what the average will read on this one. 791. All right. Quiet. Man, I don't have to talk so loud anymore. Fans, huh? Okay. We're getting close here. We've got a few scoops left. Spread this around. I feel like it's actually faster to use less because it's easier to spread around without losing any. Okay. Next one. 760. Okay. Spread it around. Did you guys notice that I didn't do any Rubik's Cube today? I had no time. Mm-hmm. 15 tests so far. That one was 752. Spread it around again. Good. Not get any shadows on here. 743. It's weird, it feels like there was less last time. I don't remember how many tests I did, do you? Alright. $7.47. These are all pretty much the same. These ones are a bit more representative of what the actual full grind distribution is because you're not getting those particles that are super coarse and also not the ones that are super fine. But the ones at the beginning were super coarse, so you have to get all the super fine ones in order to balance out the average. Otherwise, you're going to be pretty sure that you've got a good sample of all the parts. $6.11. Now we're getting down to the fines. I think we got about 2 more. Alright. $581. Really pulling our average down. Yeah, that's probably the last one. I'm gonna scrape it all off the sides and the corners, off the roof. Make sure I get it all in here. This is always, the last one's always the mega fine ones, because it's the ones that have enough static energy and are light enough to just stick to the side of the container. Luckily this brush seems to get them really well. Separates them pretty well too. I wonder if this brush is wool. That could really explain things. Okay. A visual inspection says that it is very clean. Okay. Let's just spread it around a bit. Be gentle not to flick the last of the mini fines around. Alright, let's see what our last test is. $449, bringing our total down to $792. Now what was our last one? I don't remember. Go back to particle contest. So, oh, look at that. 19 tests, 20 tests. So I guess it was about the same. And our results on the first one, we got 777. And this one we got 792. So that's pretty consistent. I would expect that kind of amount of a little bit of variability because of the randomness in how beans break, and since we're testing 2 beans, if I were to average the 2 of those, you get even more of a representation of, in fact, we should add that feature to be able to import tests from one sample into another. But so yeah, so now we know that this grind setting, this is what the distribution looks like. So that's 1 rotation, 6 numbers, and 0 clicks. And later on, I'm going to keep the same grind setting, but I'm going to switch it to a different roast color, and we will see what kind of a difference it makes in that distribution. But it's interesting because, like, even if I go to this one, where most of them were the larger particles, and then you get back to the rest of the tests, the distribution looks about the same, with most of the particles being in the same spot like every time, all the way until I get down to that last little bit of fines. But so what is that size? It's like around 850. The most, in fact, actually I got the mode here. 987 is the most common particle size. So 987 would be in which sieve? 987. Oh, wait. That could be why. Because we've got a 1180. I think we're missing sieve number 18 here. Is there a sieve 18? Let's see. Go to our sieve stack, which I call Stacko Pancakes. Add sieves. Oh, that's weird. I'm going to still add 800, 900, and 1100 to my total. So if we look back at the receive. There we go. Oh, that's interesting. That's 800, that's 900, that's 1100. So if you don't include all of these sieves, they're going to be combined. And so you'll see a taller tower because there's going to be more particles in that sieve. So like if I go to, do I have one already set up? Call it fine stack. If I had a stack that only had the fines, to like 100. And then I have one that's like a 16, let's like 1120. And 700. If you look at it in this way, they're sieved so differently. Did it not update? Oh, I didn't select it, that's why. Find stack. Yeah, see, that's a weird way of looking at the data because most of your particles are larger than this size. So you get all of it here, and then everything falls into these two categories here, just above 100. So this would be a bad way of looking at it. So the way that you set up your sieve stack does make a difference in your understanding of how you're looking at your distribution. But yeah, we're learning. That's CoffeeOS. That's the particle analysis coaster. That's the ROEST. That's the Airwave. And that's the Kino M68. So let's do another stream, maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow. I haven't fully decided, but stay tuned regardless.